Okay, we will now call this public hearing to order, July 9, 2019, held here in the Valemount Council Chambers. This is to address under 2.1, Village of Valemount zoning bylaw number 610, 2007, amendment bylaw number 801, 2019. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to the terms of the Local Government Act prior to consideration of Village of Valemount zoning bylaw 610, 2007, amendment bylaw 801, 2019. At a public hearing, any person present who believes that they are affected by a matter being considered shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matter contained in the proposal. Members of the public speaking on the proposal should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to this council by clearly stating your name and area of residence, upon which you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposal. Anyone who deems their interests are affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. All who speak at this public hearing will restrict their remarks to matters contained in the proposal, and it is my responsibility as chairperson of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. At the conclusion of a public hearing, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representation made at the hearing. We now have a presentation by staff under item 2.2. Planner Ms. Vincente, how are you?
Okay, so the public hearing this evening is in regards to zoning amendment bylaw number 801, which was initiated both by council and the general public to regulate retail cannabis stores in Valemount. In preparation for the zoning amendment, staff collected public input through 2 public surveys, the first of which was specifically seeking feedback regarding retail cannabis sales in Valemount, and 144 were completed. The second survey asked for feedback on public cannabis consumption, personal cultivation, and commercial production, and 86 of these were completed. Finally, staff hosted a cannabis open house on March 14th earlier this year to provide information and gather residents' views regarding all things related to the legalization and regulation of recreational cannabis. This public engagement and input was considered when creating this zoning amendment bylaw, which proposes to permit retail cannabis sales in the following commercial zones subject to some restrictions. So C1, central commercial, C2, general commercial, C4, highway and tourist commercial, and C6, Main Street commercial. And these zones are highlighted in yellow on the maps up there if you can see them. The bylaw does not propose to permit retail cannabis stores in all commercial zones. The C3, which is the service commercial zone, and the C5, which is the neighborhood pub zone, are both excluded from this proposal as they were not considered appropriate zones for this type of use. The proposed restrictions are that no cannabis retail store may operate within 200 meters of any school, so that's our high school and elementary school, nor within 100 meters of any of some of the locations where children gather. So I don't know if this reaches. There you go. So these are the kind of the buffer zones or exclusionary zones. You can see there's larger zones around the 2 schools, which are the 200 meters, and they're measured. The distances are measured from the exterior parcel lines of the subject properties. The proposed locations to exclude cannabis retail use are Centennial Park, John Osadchuk Park, the Community Hall, Curling Club, and Recreation Center, as well as the library and the museum. The bylaw also proposes that only a maximum of 2 cannabis retail stores be permitted within all of Valemount. Staff are currently working on a policy to detail the application and licensing process for retail cannabis stores. It's important to understand that even if cannabis retail stores are permitted within a zone, a public process, including a public hearing like this, will be held for each and every retail cannabis store application. If council does not think a proposal is in the best interest of the community, they can choose to deny the application or not to provide a comment to the province, to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. And if they receive a negative or no comment, then they will not issue a license. They will only issue licenses with positive recommendations from council. This bylaw amendment is compliant with the official community plan, and staff recommends giving third reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 801 if no major issues arise from this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any written submissions? Now is the time for public submissions and presentations to form part of the minutes. Are there any public submissions regarding this proposal? Called once. For a second time, are there any public submissions or presentations to form part of the minutes of this proposal? And calling a third time, are there any public submissions or presentations to form part of the minutes of this proposal? Hearing none, I now adjourn the public hearing. And called to order the Tuesday, July 9, 2019 regular meeting of council. Item 2.1, adoption of today's agenda. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, any additions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. We have under 3.1 public comments, just a preamble here. Comments and questions will be regarding an item on the current agenda, and questions put forth must be on topics that are not normally dealt with by staff. They shall be addressed through myself, and answers given likewise. Debates with or by individual members of council or staff are not allowed during this time. No commitments shall be made by council in such replies. Matters which may require action of council shall be tabled to a future meeting. And as we just had a public hearing, most importantly, this is not the time to comment on public hearings, and none shall be raised during this public comment session. Individuals must state their name and area of residence for identification purposes, and questions and comments will be limited to 2 minutes, notified by this timer, beginning after welcome. Are there any public comments today? Welcome.
My name is Rashmi Narayan and I live in Denmark. I looked at one of the items on the agenda was about ministerial meeting requests at UBCM, and I did like the expansive list and on local community issues that council plans to talk about. One of the things I thought y'all could also talk about, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, is about a bus service between Valemount and Kamloops, which doesn't exist at this time. That's one different story. But because you're also talking about one to Alberta, I thought I'll mention that as well. But it looked like an extensive and good list of this one committee that's it.
Thank you. Any further public comments today? Motion to receive public comments. Councillors MacLean, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All in favor of receipt? Carried. Item 4.1, adoption of the minutes of the June 20, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Item 4.2, adoption of the minutes of the previous regular meeting of council as amended. There's some housekeeping in there. Councillors G, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Any further errors or omissions or housekeeping within those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And finally, 4.3, adoption of the minutes of June 27, 2019 special meeting of council. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any errors or omissions arising from those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. No delegations tonight. So unfinished business under item 6.1, Union of the BC Municipalities Ministerial Meeting Requests. The recommendation is that the 2019 UBCM Ministerial Meeting Request recommended at the June 20th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting be ratified this evening. Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor MacLean. Any further comments, discussions on the ratification from the committee of the whole? Councillor Blanchette.
Just so everybody knows, we're still trying to condense this because we do have a couple of repeats. So we're trying to get it closed in a bit.
And we will.
And we will succeed.
Thank you. All in favor of ratification? Carried. Does anybody have anything they'd like to pull out from the reading file? Oh, pardon me. Oh, village tent. Pardon me. Item 7.1. Valemount Public Library is asking for the use of the village tent and that the fees be waived to support their event on July 23rd. What is council's wish? Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Now, does anybody have anything they'd like to pull out of the reading file? Councillor Pearson.
First up, item number 2, the letter from Via Rail. I'd like to suggest that we follow up with another phone call and meeting because time's running out for construction of a shelter if their talks with the business fall through.
Was there a phone meeting in my absence when I was gone?
No.
No, okay. I concur, Councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Blanchette?
Pull something out?
Yes.
Yeah. Item number 4.
I'm sorry, just before you continue, Councillor Pearson, did you have anything else?
No, that's
Okay,
okay.
Councillor Blanchette.
I would just like to congratulate Rashmi Narayan for a successful business, and I'd like to thank her for her years of dedication, and I wish her all the best in her new adventure. And I'd like to welcome Michelle Dallaire, I hope I said that correctly, and I want to wish her luck and much success.
Stole my thunder. Anything else from the reading file, Councillor?
No, that's it, thank you.
Anything else from the reading file from council? Lurs? Silica research. I did hear back today from Dr. Helseth at UNBC. He has taken my letter of invite to the medical department. So far, no takers on research papers between silica exposure and respiratory issues, but it's not ending there. He's continuing to try. Ditto, Councillor Blanchette. Thank you, Rashmi Narayan, for her contributions to the business community and our village as a whole. Very best of luck in their future endeavors, and again, welcome to Mrs. Dallaire and her family to Valemount. I'd also like to thank John Grogan for his letters, or providing copies of his letters to the BCUC review panel. And then finally, Council, we have an invite from the Community Development Institute to participate in a roundtable with members of the Senate next week. And it's their opportunity to learn about issues important to the people, communities, and economies of Northern British Columbia. I was hoping for some support for July 16th for travel to Prince George. Councillors Blanchette and G. Any comments on that motion that's on the floor? I'll be quick. All in favor? Carried. That concludes my reading file conclusions. Item 9.1, accounts payable report, June 2019, that the report be received for information. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, any comments on 9.1? Did you get some clarification?
I did, thank you.
Excellent. All in favor of receipt? Carried. Item 10.1, zoning amendment. Not quite getting that, there we go. Recommendation under 10.1 that the Village of Valemount zoning amendment bylaw 610-2007 amendment bylaw number 801-2019 be given third reading. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any comments on third reading? Councillor Blanchette.
I'd just like to thank Ms. Vicente for all the hard work, because it takes a lot to get these done.
Sure does. Thank you. All in favor of third reading? Carried. And council reports. Under 11.1, Councillor MacLean.
I was away the last meeting, so I have a full 4 weeks to report. A lot of it was conference calls with the Columbia Basin Local Governments Committee. The negotiation is ongoing. We're putting together our recommendations for what should be taken for the treaty negotiations. So it's been a very busy time for us. We had a local governments committee conference call on June 13th. We had on the 19th a Columbia Basin Regional Advisory Committee conference call. We had yet another one today to finalize our input into the treaty negotiations for presentation to the negotiating committee. June 20th, I attended a Clean Air Advisory Committee meeting and a Committee of the Whole to determine the ministerial meetings at the Union of BC Municipalities this fall, which was in the agenda this time. On the 30th of June, I attended a staff presentation on public engagement. On the 1st, of course, I went to Canada Day and helped Owen cut the cake and played it out. And that was my report for the past month.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jean?
Yes, so June 27th, I attended the special council meeting. June 28th, I attended the Veterans Appreciation Dinner at the Legion. It was very nice. June 29th, I attended the Scleroderma Walk in the park, which was great. They raised over $4,700, which was really good. And July 1st, I had some cake. It was great. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchette?
On the 26th, I had an in-camera committee meeting. The 27th, the Chamber of Commerce, we had a meeting and we met with staff and we're working on the signage. So I just want to put that out there that we are addressing it PDQ. And I'd like to thank staff for all their help with this. We had the draft annual report that day, as well as a committee of the whole meeting for the UBCM meetings. The 28th was the Legion dinner, and it was very well received and done. And I just want to thank all of our veterans for their service, and I also want to thank the volunteers and the Legion, because they do this, and it's a lot of work, and it was a great night. And that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson?
June 27th had the special meeting of council for the annual report. June 28th also attended the Veterans Dinner at the Legion as a guest for a change.
Kind of nice, eh?
Yeah, it was different. Also attended the Scleroderma Walk on the 29th. And on July 1st, Canada Day, assisted Mayor Torgerson with the cake distribution at the museum. And earlier today had tourism meeting.
Right on. June 27th, special council meeting for the annual report. Followed the very next day with the First Responders Appreciation Dinner hosted by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 266. Fabulous dinner, Councillor Blanchette, as you said. Just wanted to highlight one of my takeaways, 56 years service to the Royal Canadian Legion by our oldest veteran, Alice Olson. That's continuity and dedication. It's fabulous. June 29th, on the Saturday, was a participation in the Scleroderma Walk. Much thanks to Teresa Colasmo for bringing this rare condition to the surface and raising awareness around this, and to Dr. Reed, I think I'm fairly close, for the research that's going into this, and from the cryptic discussion during that, the announcement that results are forthcoming. So it'll be very cool to review that. And then July 1st, Canada Day. Just an awesome job by organizers and volunteers, musicians. First, was able to welcome new Canadians at the museum, followed by cake cutting with Councillor Pearson. Thank you very much. And then whisking over to the Sportsplex that night, Thank you to Councillors G and MacLean for giving me a hand over there, addressing the crowd as well. Special thanks to Sergeant Dean of the RCMP. Just looked awesome in his red serge. And of course, Valemount Fire and Rescue Department for a great fireworks display. It was always nice to see. Motion please to receive council reports. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean, any comments on the council reports? Hearing none, all in favor of receipt? Carried. Item 14.1, we are giving notice as we are to proceed in camera. And that council proceed to this in-camera meeting for consideration of one item per section 90-1K of the community charter to discuss matters related to subsection K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are in the preliminary stages and that, in the view of council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they are held in public. Motion, please. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone.